Welcome back, Clone Club. We are here breaking down Season 5, Episode 9, the penultimate episode of Orphan Black. I know. One Fettered Slave. I am Will Link, and with me, as always...
Hey guys, I'm Megan Salinas.
And, yeah. This is the second to last episode.
Fuck. Damn it. No! I'm really sad because not only two of my staple shows are ending literally at the same time.
I noticed that because you do the turn,
yeah,
and both of them have their finales next Saturday night.
Last night was the penultimate episode for both of them, and it's like, well, fuck you guys! You couldn't have staggered this for me?
It's funny because, I mean, as I said before, I'm going to miss the sestras so much. I'm going to miss spending time with these characters more than anything else. I would watch a show, I think, of just them hanging out all day, with no conspiracy.
I would watch the sitcom, the Hendrixes.
So we were saying beforehand, it's funny, I feel like we've gotten a lot of the mystery out of the way, that this is a much more straightforward episode in a lot of ways.
I mean, there's still that sort of corporate conspiracy, sort of spy-esque elements to it, because you're tracking down the one remaining board member, and everybody's got a hit out on them, and you know they're doing clone replacement things. So yeah, there's still like that element of that's always been very reminiscent of a spy show. But yeah, we're kind of done with the whodunit, who's the mastermind. We're done with all of that.
We've boiled it down to, in the last image of the episode, we've boiled it down to it's the two, not just clone sisters, but the two real sisters.
Yeah.
They're basically having to help each other and get out of this...
And kill everyone in their way.
I figured let's start and get it out of the way because it doesn't necessarily affect the plot as much. Let's start and talk about the Helena backstory.
Okay.
Which was... it wasn't anything... We didn't learn anything new from it.
No.
But it was also kind of interesting to see.
This is the first time we've seen Helena as a child, if I'm not mistaken.
Little Helena, who loves stuffing her face. Also, thank you, Orphan Black, for giving us a nun masturbation scene before the series was over.
Did not need that, but sure, thank you. Thanks? Question mark?
But, basically Helena, because she's adorable stuffing her little face.
Yeah.
I like that they kept these traits, and even when she's locked away, she's still stuffing her face. It's almost like one interesting thing is you get to see how this character trait was kind of born out of comfort. It's literally comfort. Food is comfort food. And she witnesses this thing, and that's when the nun starts really abusing her.
Yeah. I mean, you get the idea that they were already abusing the kids there, but that's clearly she saw something she was not supposed to be seeing, and it's her fault. I've been watching The Keepers, so I'm just sitting here going
okay.
But kudos to this actress, the little girl, because she perfectly captured a lot of Helena's mannerisms. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, why didn't they just use the same actress who plays Charlotte?
I was going to ask.
There's clearly a reason for it. I'm assuming because of the accent, that there is a foreign language component. Mm-hmm. And honestly, those Helena mannerisms are really tough. I don't want to say that the girl playing Charlotte is a bad actress. By no means. But there are levels, and I think that might have just been 2 or 3 steps above what she was capable of at the time.
Helena's always been so much separate from the way she was raised and everything else from the other clones that I could see why they would choose another actress. And we're in the second to last episode. I'm going to forgive them for this bit of continuity.
But again, the performance was amazing.
That's one reason I forgive it too.
This kid was perfect. And again, no offense meant to the actress who plays Charlotte. She does a marvelous job. But it's a tall order asking a kid to speak a language they don't already speak for a part. Like, that's really tough for a kid to do. It's tough for an adult actor to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen me try to do Helena impressions on this show, you know it's tough for me to do. We also see that Helena's bleached hair and red eyes are not really like a fashion statement.
No. Well, what's interesting though is that she kept the look, because
She's got it, yeah.
because her hair was bleached when she was a kid. It's interesting that she chose to keep that look as her life progressed.
Yeah.
Like, you have to keep dyeing your hair once you start doing that if you want to keep that look. So it's interesting that it was done as a punishment for her, and that she just decided to keep doing it.
Well, from this moment, what's interesting about this moment that we see her as a child, it's when she begins punishing herself.
Yes.
Always. So that's probably one of the reasons she kept that look. And I've always kind of loved that look for Helena because it's great, distinguishes from every... But there is a sadness of it, like, oh, if Helena gave herself a makeover, it might show that she's not punishing herself anymore in any ways. I mean, even in this episode, and we'll get to it more later, but some of the stuff she says to Cody about not being special and stuff, it's heartbreaking.
But we love you, Helena.
And we see Tomas. It's funny, we're seeing this series of old villains from season 1 coming back, whether it's like Leaky in a flashback with Rachel and now Tomas in this.
That's basically what this was. There's a couple episodes ago when we were getting Rachel's background, and again, it didn't teach us a whole lot of new things, but it gave us kind of more insight onto what it was actually like day to day for her to grow up, and I feel like that's what this episode was for Helena. Yeah.
And, Tomas basically taught her that these clones, he taught her the Prolethean way, which is this...
I do not miss the Proletheans. Those guys were monsters.
Had her fish knife.
Yeah.
And he basically was like, we have to kill all these other ones because they're these dirty copies. And we even see her as a kid playing with the dolls. Like, he's indoctrinating her.
It's really, really upsetting that he didn't tell her that all of the clones looked like her, because that's something that completely floors her when she takes out her first target.
It should.
Yeah, because she's been taught basically her entire life that all of these clones are a sin against God, that they're abominations. So when she kills the first one and realizes, oh no, they all look like me, I'm one of them, I'm this abomination, oh my gosh, and yeah.
And then she starts cutting herself, she starts that whole self-flagellation thing that people read some...
Well, and then he also brings her in with the lie of, no, you're the original, you're the pure one, it's your job to take out all of these, other soulless creatures that have, stolen, that have copied your body. It's so gross and weird.
Yeah.
Ugh, I hate you. I hate you, Tomas.
And, it's, I mean, that's basically where we leave it. We see that when she made this discovery, and, like I said, it's, the backstory of Helena is sad. It's funny, we haven't had much Helena the last 2 seasons. When you really think about it, last season she went to go live in that yurt. And this season she's been spotty at best when we've seen her. So I like that the series, look, Helena's almost everyone's favorite clone. Like, everyone loves Helena because she's dangerous and she's funny and and she was the one who...
And she's had her redemption arc already, yeah.
So it's fun to... it's fun that we're... Maybe fun's not the right word, but it's nice that we're ending the series on her, basically.
Yeah, well, specifically on her and Sarah.
Yeah.
As you were pointing out, the 2 real sisters. And, we love all the sestras, but these are actually 2 twins. So yeah, it's nice that the series sort of comes full circle in that way.
So let's get to some plot.
Okay.
S's funeral is where we come in. That hit me harder than, because I thought I was kind of done mourning S in a lot of ways, but then once I see like, oh, her children aren't, obviously.
Well,
that was a very emotional scene for me.
I was kind of floored by the inclusion of the parting glass, because I have a lot of feels about that song. I love that song and a lot of different versions of it. And so, like, the fact that they chose to play that song at her funeral, I was like, shut up, I'm not crying, you're crying. Just fuck you, show. It was beautiful, though. It was really beautiful. And I think what I really enjoyed, not necessarily enjoyed about the scene, but the thing I appreciated most about the scene was the acting. The moment Felix takes the letter and is like, don't worry, I'll read it, and you just see him trying to keep it together after he gets through the first line. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Great job from Jordan Garvis. I love the moment where Kira kind of breaks down, and then Sarah is taking care of her. I was talking to somebody on Twitter this morning. I can't remember who, and I have no idea where my phone is. But to check, I put it somewhere. But we were talking about how Sarah's arc in the series is really she came back to Toronto to be a mother to Kira. And this season, Sarah has been very much on the sidelines in a lot of ways. I mean, she gets involved almost every episode to some level, but there's been a lot of episodes where she's just hanging around the house for 90% of the episode. And we're saying this is the season where she started to truly understand what it was to be a mother to Kira. And this was a season where we saw things that she learned from S and then imparting them onto her daughter. And so seeing that they've lost her there, and seeing that Sarah taking care of her, and not going out on the adventure right away. She's I gotta stay here with Kira.
Kira lost her grandma. I need to be here for her.
But at the same time, we see that she's got one eye on Neolution, because at the wake or whatever, afterwards, she's looking on the phone, and she's seeing what's going down with Neolution. And what's going down with Neolution is they are on the run. They have fallen apart.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, kind of like at the end of Fight Club, when you're just watching all the buildings come crashing down. It's like, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love seeing that Neolution is falling apart. I mean, no sympathy for all the board members who killed themselves or were murdered.
Zero. Very little sympathy.
So,
but one thing I really I like that the show took the time to point this out, was that Sarah hasn't cried yet. Nobody's seen Sarah cry, and it's that mentality of, we've got a mission to do, and it's one of those things where you can tell, in order to be strong for Kira and everybody else around her, and to kind of finish this fight, she's pushed those feelings kind of deep down, and is just focused on I have to be here for Kira, and I have to finish this fight with Neolution. And so that's fantastic in terms of her growth.
Do you think we see a Sarah breakdown next episode then, kind of this moment when it's all over and she can breathe and she's just and then we see the tears flow?
I feel like there's probably gonna be you know how in the last episode there was that moment with Delphine and Cosima, where they hit the button to make all of the knowledge public, and Cosima starts laughing and then starts crying. I feel like it's probably going to be something similar to that, where she and Helena will be safe, and Helena's babies are coming, and this new life will be brought into the world. It'll be this very happy moment, but then at the same time, once that starts happening, that's when the tears are going to come. Okay. Just for everything, for S's loss, for all of her sisters being safe, and for being an aunt.
And just also for, she's been on such a heavy journey that...
the idea that it's all over now.
Her life has been obsessed about trying to break away from dyad and neos and prolethians and all these things that it's almost like once it's over, you almost don't even know what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, how do I get back to a normal life? Well, also at the wake, we find out that Helena has been kidnapped. The nun comes, and that's when Sarah says, like, she lost her granddaughter. I can't leave. So Art and Felix go to Rachel, which is great, and also their reaction to when they realize like how mutilated Rachel is with the eye and stuff, like that she went through this thing as well. She went through something serious, because you almost feel it turn, because Felix come in there like he's coming in there hot, and then when she turns around, he backs up, because my word from last week was, will Sarah blame Rachel? And
which she did.
She did.
She absolutely did. She's like, Rachel's to blame for this. Is she, though?
But I think...
She could have warned us. She did, though.
Yeah, but, I think when Art and Felix see her, they kind of realize that we have to, like, take a little bit of a step back.
Yeah.
Like, this is somebody... Not to the point where they're going to let her flee the country, because
No.
she's on the run, too. She's got the biggest target on her back.
Yep.
Basically, PT is cleaning up all loose ends. He has Simon going off to kill every last board member.
Fucking asshole.
Let's talk about PT, because he has lost his shit. He's bald.
The future is female.
Yeah.
He's straight up crazy mad scientist.
He's all doped up.
It's funny
Like
because
he's shooting up, what is it, speed? What's he doing?
Ordering people to be killed that do not need to be killed. Like, Mark doesn't need to be killed.
Well, it's interesting. Let's take a sidebar then, since you brought it up.
Should we just keep talking about PT and we'll
Okay,
talk about
we'll
Mark
get to it.
and
Yeah,
Cody
because,
in a minute?
Okay.
Yeah.
But PT, yeah, you're right. He's just is taking everyone out, and he needs these fetal stem cells. It's the only thing that will keep him alive. It's so creepy.
It's disgusting. It's so... Do we even know what he's dying of? Just old age or every disease imaginable? Because he's on dialysis. What is he dying of? Is it literally just old age?
Well, if he's on dialysis, so what is he having? Like kidney failure?
Kidney failure.
And I mean, I'm assuming he's an old man. When you get old, you get sick and you die.
Yeah,
And he's just dying.
He's bald, so it's like, does he have cancer too on top of all of this? Like, what's...
PT's got it all.
Or is he just, like, literally injecting, like, all the science into him, so it's made his hair fall out?
I like that. Well, I love when he gets the science injected to him, and then he's like,
woo!
Like he's all like, I think one review I read this morning said he's hopped up on goofballs. And he is.
It is kind of like they took the actor aside and was like, hey, you know how your performance so far has been very reserved and very subdued? Just gonna do away with all that for these last 2 episodes. Well, you're gonna be a straight up maniac.
Well, he also knows that if they lose Helena, if he loses these fetal stem cells, which he's putting Helena and the baby at risk.
Yeah, he's inducing labor way early.
Yeah, these babies don't. They keep saying, "Well, twins are born prematurely a lot." Yeah, let's calm down here. Like, let's not take these babies out too soon. But because I think he's afraid he's about to drop at any moment.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, half of me wonders if they don't even have to kill PT. If they come across him and he's like, because he didn't get his stem cells,
he didn't get his science juice,
and the goofballs have worn off. If he's just gonna be like there dying and give some like creepy monologue and just, although that would. Because, I mean...
Yeah, I feel like they don't need to kill him. I feel like they just need to sit back and watch it happen. And they're like, there he goes.
Yeah, because I don't know who I want to see take him out. I want them all... I mean, really, I guess part of me wants to see Rachel do it. But she's obviously not going to be there. So I'm wondering how that's going to go down.
Honestly, like, for Rachel, I feel like we just need to FaceTime it. Just like, hey, Rachel, we're here at the compound and PT's about to drop dead.
So, PT's got Cody working on Helena. And it gets back into, I mean, from season 1, even with the leak, even when people were, like, semi-nice about it, even when it's for, in theory, their own good, there has always been this intrusion into female bodies throughout the series. That's been a big theme, and this, I mean, you know,
like about like females' bodies not being their own.
Yeah. And also literal intrusion into them.
Yeah.
And now
Super
taking
gross.
the babies out.
Ugh.
So while this is going on, Art and Felix are trying to figure out, you know, and
where the last remaining board member is.
yeah, because they think that he might know.
Follow the money.
Al-Khatib.
He's the one where like their breakthroughs were helping his daughter, right? I think that was what they established.
I think that was something that Rachel said, threatening
like
him in the boardroom.
Threw out at him, yeah.
So he's on the run. Art goes back to the police station where he's getting framed for Neo murders.
Jeez.
There's things. Maddie is putting all this dirt. The Interpol's involved.
I hate her so much. Like when they make eye contact and she just gives him the. I'm like, oh, I hate you.
Yeah, she's
awful witch.
She's the worst.
She's the absolute worst.
I mean, I want to see Art shoot her in the head.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So, but Art's boss kind of trusts Art enough to like let him back out there.
Yeah, he knows this is a setup. He's not stupid.
And they go to the Neo boardroom where Simon's about to kill Al-Khatib or whatever, and I'm having trouble with his name. Apologies. And Felix comes in, a good bit of Felix comedy, although, you know, he's walking into a bad situation.
I love that he, like, stopped, and he was like, I think I'm in the wrong boardroom.
And then Art comes up behind, and that's the only way it could have gone down. I know Art now kills this guy, does kill somebody, so he's going to be in trouble here, but it was the only way it could go down.
I mean, that guy was going to kill Art if he didn't pull the trigger first.
Art got to be really badass in this episode, in a way that we haven't seen in a while. Art also, you know, he brings up the point, like, what S did was for my family, too.
Yeah. So, at this point, he's willing to cross lines that he previously was unable to cross. So yeah, it was kind of cool to see, you know, badass Art this episode.
I mean, the last shot of Art, like, basically, like, got the vest on, he's marching in, like, he's gonna take care of business.
I really hope this series doesn't kill, I really hope they don't kill him. Like, I'd be so upset if this series ended with Art getting killed off.
Kevin Hanchard had a funny tweet this morning. Someone had tweeted at him, like, don't die. Please don't die. And he retweeted that and he goes, hey, I've survived for 49 episodes. What do you want from me? So
don't do it, show. Don't do it. Resist the temptation to kill off your cop. Don't do it.
So, yeah, that, you know, Maddie's such a devoted Neo, and she set this whole thing up with Art.
I'm sorry, but once PT has been revealed to the world as a charlatan, and the organization
Fake news, Megan. Fake news.
The organization has fallen apart. What incentive do you have to still follow him? Like, is it just the money? Because there are lots of things you could do for money. Is it you just being in too deep? Like, if you don't continue to follow him, you'll be apprehended? Is that what it is? But, like, again, once he's revealed to be a charlatan, why should you care about him anymore?
I guess you could still believe in the science. And I guess
that's true.
I guess Maddie is like, I will now be part of that 1% that once we crack this will live forever and can have a tail. You know, I mean, I guess you're right.
She just really wants cat ears, guys. She just wants cat ears. Like an anime girl.
Speaking of fake news, am I misremembering, or did Rachel say alternative facts in this episode?
She did! She said that person was in charge of alternative facts.
That is a Trump rewrite. That is the writers being like, what Trump thing can we throw into this?
Well, because, like, again, the like, watching the news for the past 8-9 months has been bonkers. And so, like, there are just certain things, like, when you hear alternative facts for the first time, you're just like,
yeah.
What? So, yeah, I think that a lot of writers have had to process that.
Well, it's funny. You see that in so many shows. I'm not going to harp on this or get political, but, like, even I know, like, last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the end of that season
Nevertheless,
was getting...
she persisted. I loved it.
They got into a lot of stuff
Well,
like that.
because they were dealing with a lot of, like, Hydra stuff. So, like, a lot of neo-Nazi bullshit.
But
so,
it's interesting to see how, like, the writers of our favorite shows, and shows that don't necessarily get overtly political...
They need to cope, too.
They slip these things in there.
I appreciated those little nuggets.
So basically now we got two storylines going on.
Yeah.
We got the Sarah has to figure out how to save Helena and what's going on to Helena. So let's bear out the rest of the Sarah stuff, because the Helena stuff is so emotional. I kind of want to...
Totally.
Yeah.
You need a minute.
I do. So Sarah basically realizes there's only one person that PT would take, like the one person that could get in there, and it's Rachel.
Yeah.
So in a clone swap, Sarah is gonna go in there as Rachel.
I loved that.
And
I loved it.
They basically get Al-Khatib to call PT and be like, I don't want to be killed here. I'm the last board member. I got something you want even more. And they do the whole drop. Maddie comes and picks up, quote unquote, Rachel in the trunk of the car. Art is following. They got the tracker on. Everybody's involved. They find out they're going to the old like abandoned laboratories next to the Dyad building that's connected. And we're like, we gotta get in there.
Hanging out right underneath everyone's noses, because there's like a legion of press corps right outside of Dyad, and they're in the abandoned building right next door.
But that's always like the brilliant thing to do, because it's where they least suspect. I'm at the place where they least suspect, which is the place where they suspect. Kind of. And they know they need to
There's a logic to it, yeah.
There is a logic to it. And Scott, we get to see Scott in action out in the field.
Yes! It's been ages.
And him and Hell Wizard get someone we don't talk about a lot here. Even though he was...
Well, because he's been hanging out at the comic shop for, 2.5 seasons?
He was spinning some hot beats at the Felix's Archer.
That's
We forgot
true,
to bring it
true.
up. We forgot to bring it up.
DJ Hell Wizard. That's...
But Hell Wizard used to do security, and they go in, and that's how they let Art in. And the alarm's going off then when he lets Art... And Scott wants to stay and fight. But Art is right. This is not...
Art's like, get out of here.
Art's right. And Scott it's brave enough he's come in then and do that. And it's wonderful that he's willing to go even further for the sestras. But Scott would just be something Art would have to worry about. Art needs to go in there.
In a combat situation, Scott would be a liability because he doesn't have any combat experience. So, where Scott excels is in the science department, is in this case, flying in under the radar. And also, strangely enough, he and Rachel have a little reunion. And, I was like, oh, that's, brought her into his little game circle for a little while. Wouldn't it be funny if this series ended with Rachel sitting down for a game of D&D?
That's how all the sisters playing D&D at the end. And Crystal even comes in. So Sarah is now posed as Rachel because she has to get in there to help save Helena. I'm surprised, and it's probably because Maddie doesn't have a lot of experience with a lot of the sestras. I'm surprised it took as long to them to figure out, because I feel like PT was sensing it very early on.
Yeah, he's like, something's off here.
Yeah, and then she calls him father.
And he's like, okay, yes, this isn't right.
Well, either way, he knows he's getting played, and then he realizes, oh, this is Sarah. And when he takes that eye patch off, and you see it coming, and there's this moment where great moment where his hand is is he about to caress her head or take the eye patch off? And he takes the eye patch off, and then she lunges at him with a knife and almost gets him.
Almost.
She slices his throat.
So close.
And if anything, he's even more invigorated.
He's like, woo, adrenaline! He's like, this one has caused so much trouble. We need to just finish up with this.
And Maddie comes in with the gun, and then it's revealed that we can't kill Sarah. Cody comes in, don't kill her. because something terrible is going on, and let's talk about that. Helena is being, she's basically being dragged into the laboratory. She's on the gurney. She's in and out of consciousness because they've got her all drugged up. But she needs to be conscious to give a natural birth, even though PT wants, which Cody is still shooting for, because PT wants to do the.
He's like,
C-section.
just cut him out, and she's like, no. Stop it!
Which is a bit of a moment of humanity for Cody. Like, they're as crazy as she is, I guess there's some lines she won't cross. But is it because of science?
I want to say, like, her justification for it is the science angle. She's like, it's more viable if we do it this way, and you're trying to rush the science.
Yeah, right. She's looking at the big picture for the science rather than we got to keep PT alive.
I mean, she's always had a bit of humanity to her, and you see that she really does care about the Castor clones. But that being said, she will not hesitate to kill her own heart to quote-unquote do what needs to be done for the sake of science. So screw you, Cody, you bitch.
Yeah.
I felt no sympathy for her in this episode.
No, I feel no sympathy for Cody at all. She's horrific. I felt some sympathy for Susan. I don't feel any sympathy for Cody. And at this moment we also hear that Mark thinks Gracie's still alive, and I kept waiting for Helena to be able to get that out to him, and I thought maybe Mark would be heroic and, like, when he finds this out, like, but that moment never comes because then she's never around Mark again, and Helena's too in and out of consciousness.
Here's a question. Is Mark actually dead, or did Cody just sedate him?
Mark is dead.
Well then, fuck you, show. What a complete waste of Mark and Ira in the final season. Like, Mark and Gracie were brought back in for literally no reason, just to die to tie up that loose end. We could have avoided that completely, and in the very last episode just had a shot of them, like, looking at a sunset together.
Well, let's since it's come up, let's play the Mark thing out here.
Okay. Sorry, maybe I was really upset by this because I was like, what a waste of an interesting character.
But you know what? I agree in the part of it's a waste of a character, and it's like
it's a waste of two characters because Gracie too. They were just unceremoniously murdered and shuffled off because we gotta wrap everything up.
But what I don't, here's where I'll push back a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think it's a waste of an idea, and I think it's the way the Castor storyline kind of ends with this very sad button where the mother of Castor basically puts down the last Castor who has all these hopes and dreams. It's
to be a teacher.
Yeah, and he had like a future plan for him and Gracie, and he thinks he's getting cured. But I think what's interesting about the idea is Castor never had a chance. Because of the way they were raised, because of the way they were treated with this military thing, they were used in a way. Lita was always used that they were like monitored and stuff, but they were also in a weird way.
They were allowed to live their own lives.
Yeah, they got to experience.
They got to go to school.
They got to get
married. They got.
Adopt children.
Yeah, not necessarily have kids, but adopt children and be moms or be musicians, be artists, be scientists. Yes, there was a lot of control, and they were always monitored, and like their lives were considered to be property of this evil corporation. But at the very least, for all of the clones who were unaware, like Crystal, like they got to live their own lives to an extent.
Yeah.
Castor was never given that option. They were tools from the get-go.
Yeah, and they never had a chance. And the moment, like I said, I agree with you about the characters. It kind of sucks that we didn't get a little bit more, and I mean, it is the last season, and they're not the focus. But I think the idea and what they were saying in that moment was a great juxtaposition of how Lita to Castor.
Yeah. And
it was really sad when he just went to sleep.
Yeah, and you could tell it did, like, she didn't want to do it, but she did it. And then she has the nerve, like, because she's clearly so upset at, like, having had to kill him, but then she has the nerve to go up to Helena and say, I know what you are. You're this, you're this, you're this. You are not fit to be a mother.
projecting.
Cody out!
Yeah, projecting much.
Projecting a little bit, Cody. You monster.
It's interesting how Cody didn't want Gracie to die because she knew then this would happen.
Yeah.
She knew that this was the inevitable endgame because Mark wasn't going to let that go. So.
Yeah, it is interesting though that she was like, I didn't order that. What was that about, PT?
Yeah, well, PT's a monster.
Yes, he is.
Now let's talk about that Helena moment.
Ugh.
So this also comes on the heels of Mark dying and we've gotten all these Helena flashbacks, and then Helena's like back in consciousness, and I think it starts with her coming out of a flashback, and she's talking about not being special.
Yeah.
And Cody's talking to her, and then that she really destroys her, makes her feel like nothing.
Helena says, you had your babies taken from you, like, why? Please don't take mine from me, please. She's begging Cody to have some sort of humanitarian moment here, and Cody just shoots her down.
The next 10 minutes of the episode was maybe the most emotional roller coaster the series ever sent me on, because as someone who also believes the show will end on a happy note, you have Helena totally broken down and dehumanized, almost back to what she was before, like in the way she was treated. And I'm like, oh no, she's broken. She's going to give in and give up. And then we see her being Helena, and she's able to use the IV to get the scissors over to her, and she's trying to cut her restraints. And I'm like, yes, Helena is trying to break out. Helena is trying to fight. And then she realizes it's kind of hopeless to get out, and she's not going to be able to get out. And she doesn't want the same future for her baby. She doesn't want them to be experimented on. So she's decided she's going to take all their lives, and she starts cutting her own wrists. And S was the most heartbreaking thing on the show until seeing this. Now, this became the most heartbreaking thing I'd seen on the show, because I'm like, oh my God. It was such a roller coaster of emotion, and it broke my heart. But I did write down in my notes during the commercial break, I wrote back, then Helena tries to take her own life, because I didn't believe it was going to happen. I didn't believe. Did you
Tries.
think? Yeah. Did you think she was gone?
With Sarah on her way, and maybe I'm misremembering the beats for leading up to that, but with Sarah on her way, I was like, no way. They can't kill Helena before those babies are actually born.
Yeah.
No, it's not happening. It didn't take away from the emotional weight of it, though, of her making that decision, and then it would be very interesting to hear my roommate recap me watching these episodes, because she's doing her own thing on the computer, and then hearing the episode, and then hearing me give expletives as I watch the episode. So it would have been very funny to hear my roommate kind of talk about this moment in particular. Just going, I have no idea what was going on, but Megan was screaming.
When she did, I gasped very loud. I was by myself. I was because it was so upsetting. These last couple episodes have been so good and so tense and so emotional. From the emotional Rachel episode to then last week with S, and now this with Helena. They are going out swinging. Orphan Black tweeted out the other day what's your favorite episode of the series, and I had said was it Casualties of the Battlefield? I'm probably saying the Certain Agony of the Battlefield, which is from season 3 when Paul died. It's but it also has, because there's a lot of there's even some Beth business in that, because Sarah's having these visions. There's and there's also the twerking in that episode. So there's a lot I love about that episode, but I can make a strong argument that episodes 7, 8, and now 9 are all the best episodes. They're going out on a real high note.
Yeah.
So basically, they discover Helena has done this. Sarah's in the building. Sarah could give her a transfusion. We got to keep Helena alive. And there's the moment where Cody, though, is like, we're going to do the C-section. And Sarah's like, no, it will kill her. She's lost too much blood. But, Maddie's there. Everybody's got a gun.
Yeah.
So Sarah's giving her the transfusion. And, oh, my God, it also killed me when she called her meathead. Oh, and she's giving her the transfusion, and then, the alarm goes off because Art's in the building. Maddie leaves. Helena's come back to consciousness, and then Helena gives her that look. That look that only Helena can give you. That nose.
The look that says, I'm about to kill a bitch.
Yeah. And, by the way, with her arm that she just cut open, grabs Cody and just bam, 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 bashes her head in.
You are a shitty mother. Woo.
Is Cody dead, you think? Or is she...
I don't know.
I mean, she looks pretty dead.
She looks pretty dead,
The only reason I'm not sure is because, when they showed next week and all they did was show stills of all the characters, or, one-shots of all the characters, they did show Cody, so I'm like, oh, maybe she's still alive?
Maybe she's the one that kills PT.
That would not be satisfying.
No. But, maybe she kills him and then she drops dead. I don't know.
I mean, maybe she's alive enough, now that they got the upper hand on her, she could assist Sarah in the birth of the babies, because the last shot of the episode is her water breaking.
Yeah.
And this episode ended in a cliffhanger that I feel like few episodes do, because they don't have a lot of episodes in Orphan Black where the next episode is going to pick up
exactly. Yeah. Where we left off.
Next episode is going to pick up exactly. The water is broken. You're gonna have to give birth. Meanwhile, Maddie's running around with a gun. Art's coming in. PT's still there being crazy. I mean, okay. Let me ask you this, because I was talking to some people on Twitter this week, and there's some people who think that Helena's going to die. Some people on our message boards have said that Helena's going to die in childbirth. I don't think so.
I think you people are monsters. How dare you?
They don't want her to die. Well, here's the thing. Because we had such a close call with Helena this episode, I don't think that it's actually made me confident that she's going to survive the series, because that would be playing with the emotions in a way that wouldn't feel right.
It would feel like really shoddy storytelling if they just killed her after this close call.
Yeah.
It wouldn't feel right.
After killing her, after she's basically been killed twice on this series, by the way, I don't think you can do that again. So no. I think Helena's going to be safe.
If Helena dies, we riot. That being said, there are certainly going to be a slew of dead bodies in the next episode, I'm sure.
Well, the creators said, they're going to be tears and stuff and stuff, but I don't think it's going to be because people are dead. I think it's going to be because, I think in the last episode, we're going to see Helena with her babies. We're going to see, I now really believe Rachel's going to be brought into the mix fully by the end. There's a great moment where they refer to Helena as the science, and she says she has a name, Helena. And it's you're really coming around. I think the emotion is going to come from these characters who were never really loved, now being loved and fully embraced, because this show is about a sisterhood, and to then a bigger extent this family that's been created, that art is part of, that feels part of.
I never would have thought in season 1 that Helena would have ever been brought into the fold. So it would be nice to see Rachel also fully embraced as a sestra. Although Rachel, I will also say this, it's entirely possible that Rachel just takes her nest egg, says goodbye to everybody, and just goes off and does her own thing.
That is possible, but I could see there being a great moment where they kind of even tell her before that, you can be part of this, but yeah, you're right, she's not ready, or there's she's always going to be this...
I'll come back when I'm out of money.
Yeah. Well, there's always going to be this thing between her and Sarah. I mean, she did try to kill Sarah.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Sarah also did cut out her eye.
Yeah. So it should all be water under the bridge.
But, Rachel also did save Kira.
Their relationship is going to be
complicated.
Interesting.
It's complicated.
There's no way at the end of this series that they're the best of friends, but even just extending an olive branch and being like, you can be part of this, would be like that would bring a tear to my eye, because I've rooted for you, Rachel. I've wanted you to like.
I think I would probably cry if like Sarah actually did like hug Rachel at the very end, and you just see like Rachel break down.
A lot of times when we do in the comments and on Twitter, people hit me up with like, well, this interview that the creators give them, and I don't read a lot of the interviews, especially towards the end here, because I want to be surprised. And honestly, you can put whatever you want. I read all the comments and I'm fine with it. I'm not like spoilers, but it's the reason I don't necessarily seek them out, because I try to keep a little distance.
Yeah,
but
I try to kind of put the blinders on. But
I did see something about the creators talking about that we are going to get another. Like kind of not a dance party, but another moment that it took a lot of having multiple clones together, which we've always kind of predicted here.
Yeah.
But we don't know what that could be. I mean, that could still just be like 4 clones. I'm hoping it's 6 clones. Hell, it could be clones coming in from out of town to get the cure. I mean, it could be like 20 freaking clones. I mean, who knows?
How many wigs can we put on Tatiana Maslany?
I mean, like I said, this was a fairly straightforward, and I feel like next week is going to be fairly straightforward, and it's going to be a lot of us just recapping thoughts on the series in general. So I want to end this with basically saying, how do you think this is going to play out next week?
I feel like Art is going to kill Maddie. Like they're gonna have a shoot off. I don't know if he's gonna make it out of that, but I feel like Art is gonna kill Maddie. I feel like they're gonna have to rush Helena either to the hospital or just have her give birth there at Dyad. That she will have 2 beautiful baby girls. And in terms, I really feel like they're gonna corner PT and he's just gonna expire and they're not even gonna need to kill him. They'll either turn and walk away as he's dying, or like he'll just kind of give out.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I guess we should get her to the hospital. We should just go.
Yeah.
And then, I kind of feel like, I don't know, maybe we'll get a quick scene of Charlotte, Kira, and Art's daughter all having another play date. Like playing on the playground as Helena cradles her babies at a park or something.
I think that the Helena, PT, all that stuff, I think that's going to get resolved very quickly. Not very quickly, but I don't see it taking up more than half the episode.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen, because we're already in the middle of the action, I think by the 30-minute mark of the episode, that will all be resolved, and I feel like...
And the rest of it will be epilogue stuff.
Yeah, I feel like the rest of it's going to be Cosima and Delphine getting a moment, Allison and Donnie, and maybe getting to the bottom of Allison's new look, all the sestras together, because I am still Pollyannish about this whole thing, and I think this will end on a beautiful, happy note, celebrating this family and the sestrahood, and that's what I truly believe. And I think the show is going to give us kind of a long goodbye. Not like Lord of the Rings long goodbye, but like that kind of where we keep getting these little. That's what I'm thinking, because the way the season has been, it's almost been like giving people curtain calls.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to.
Each of the sestras is going to get a curtain call, and then they'll all come out together.
Yeah.
For the final bow.
Aww. And I think that also, it's a curtain call then for Tatiana Maslany in this brilliant performance that she has done for 5 years. Of course, who knows? Maybe it doesn't end that way.
Maybe, who knows? Maybe everyone we know and love in this show gets killed.
Yeah. I don't think so, though. I think we're set up for something good and special and fun.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a happy ending for sure.
But I think the beginning of next episode is going to be filled with tension, and then the whole rest of it is just going to be emotion.
It's gonna be this like nice exhale. And just all this relief.
And next week it's just gonna be you and me just being like, we have to say goodbye to Cosima and Delphine. It's gonna be all of us. I mean,
we're just gonna be like 2 hot messes right here, just weeping into our whiskeys.
I am convinced that's how it's all gonna go down next week. But you'll have to come back next week to wait and see. I'm gonna be holding my breath all week to see how this all plays out. One thing I do want to say from last week, Satasui.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't pronounce people's real names, let alone their YouTube usernames or Twitter names. I wanted to give this listener a shout out because they pointed out that we were, in fact, once told all the clones' birth dates.
Yes.
And Cosima is actually the oldest.
I felt real stupid after that. I was like, oh, never mind.
March 9th, 1984. Granted, Sarah's born March 5th, 1984, and Allison April 4th, 1984. So, next March 9th, we should celebrate Cosima's birthday.
Oh, be a birthday party.
Yeah, I think that's it for now. Megan, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. I do a bunch of shows on a network called AfterBuzz TV. I write articles for The Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. I also do the voice of Margot Lane on the Shadow Radio Recreation. And be sure to follow me on Twitter because another vocal performance from me coming up in another thing. Stay tuned on Twitter for more news on that.
She does it all, people. You can follow me on Twitter at The Real Will Link. You can listen to my podcast, Will Sean Podcast.
Will he?
Spoiler alert, I do. Next, if you live in LA, I'm doing I'm performing an essay on September 9th at Open Space on Fairfax here in Los Angeles. It's show Tell It. I don't know. Who knows? Come down or don't. And then, let's keep the conversation going on Twitter. This morning, before I did this, I had so many great conversations already with so many of you about last night's episode. I think over the next week, it's going to be a lot of kind of Orphan Black love fest.
Yeah, I want to know what you guys want from the finale. What sort of curtain call do you want?
Yeah, let us know, and let us know if you think we're completely off base and that Rachel is going to red wedding the shit out of all this.
Plot twist. Yeah. They're all hanging out at dinner and the Reigns of Castamere starts playing.
Okay, so we will see you next week for the final episode of Orphan Black.